What's up, guys? It's your boy GRC. This is Crypto in the Morning, and we have a crazy one lined up for today. We have Axis Live, who I only had to bother for like a week and a half, which isn't so bad. Usually it's like 2-3 weeks I have to bother people. But Axis, me and him get along because he likes to talk about all that deep stuff, all that mansplaining. We got lots of mansplaining to do today. We have an interesting episode. It's Friday. We're in a bear market, right? We've been saying that for a while now. Things can get hairy, guys, and I need you to protect yourselves, okay? Protect yourselves from outrage marketing. Just protect your bags, protect your mental health. The people that make it out of this bear market, it will because they are mentally healthy, period. Like, if you, at the crux of cryptocurrency, to me, to GRC, it's like, I know that I can do it crypto well because I know I can mentally get through all of it. And it's an emotional game. And I've already been through some emotional baloney. So it's like, this is, to me, it's like a game compared to that stuff, that real life stuff sometimes, you know? So anyway, we're going to get into the weeds today. We're going to talk about protecting yourself in a bear market, some macroeconomic stuff. We got Axis. We got Jesse James, a friend of Axis. We're going to be talking about everything, guys. So stay tuned. We got 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Intro song, little banger just to get everyone loose and goosed.
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker.
With your heart. With your heart.
Bought my hex from the fucking start. Point one every day we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, he is mooning. Looking at wives they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and they'll get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Getting this back like a year ago.
Let's introduce the guest.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, Axis Live and Jesse James. The easiest name to say in the world, Jesse James. That's an easy one to remember. How are you guys doing this morning? Tell me how you are.
Fantastic.
Doing good, man. Pretty excited to get into the weeds and talk about a little bit of crypto and a lot about deeper topics.
I think the weeds would be understatement.
Yeah, I mean, it's Friday, right?
It's Friday, guys. Let's introduce ourselves first, just for everyone who's new. We got 53 in. They'll be popping in here shortly, guys. Get them in here. Spread the word, guys. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and let everyone know we're live right now. You know I'm live every single day, guys. God, I don't know how many of the comments I can read. There's like 111. But let's
I'm ready for a 2x on the comments, guys. Let's go. I already got. If you have any questions, just kind of. I'm going to try to put them on the side over here so I can come back.
So, Axis, start with you for the people that don't know you, right? Because there's people from my area that watch my show, like that don't know much about the whole Talk
Yeah, if you
about
don't know who
yourself
I
a little
am,
bit.
yeah, if you don't know who I am, I'm just a guy on the internet that's been in Hex since day one. I started mining cryptocurrency back in 2017. I worked at Costco with Jesse here for 6 years, and last year I took my leave from there and went on to follow my dreams and grow as an individual and I've been through my own struggles through life. But at the end of the road, if you can keep it all together and surround yourself with strong people, anything's possible.
God, geez, you are on. What did you have for breakfast, man? You're
Green tea
inspiring.
extract, acetyl L-carnitine, and
Sounds
a
about right.
little caffeine pill. Yeah. I'm on a
Thank you
fat
so
burning
much.
cycle right now, and I've been lifting like crazy. So like everything is coming full. Like your neurons fire at like a rapid rate when you have all these compounds running through your system, and you're eating a nutrient dense diet. So it actually unlocks more capacity within yourself.
Oh my God,
So it's been happening to me over the last about 2 months.
you're going into Super Saiyan. Jesse James,
Yes, sir.
let's talk for a second. You met Axis at work. It seems like you guys were buddies at work. You guys started talking that ass together. You probably both saw, hey, you guys have the similar interest. How did you get into this space, and where are you at in the crypto space?
Mitch has been trying to get me into crypto for a minute. And actually, the first time he tried to get me into crypto, he told me that Bitcoin was going to drop down to like 3,500. And I had the money in the bank, and I did not pull the trigger on at least getting one coin. I should have got one coin.
Right.
And that hurt me right there. And I was like, ever
Yep.
since then, he's like, look, there's this new crypto coming out, Hex. He was like, you got to get into it. And I
His
should have
conviction
listened to
was
him
incredible.
again, and I didn't listen to him again. So, yeah, I
Hey,
mean,
but that's not just on you. That was on me too, because Jesse went deep into nutrition and diet and stuff.
true.
And he was telling me, hey man, you got to be taking these compounds. You got to be working out regularly again. Like 'cause I had fallen
Oh
off
yeah,
at
so
that
he
point,
was
and I
kind of
was
filling you in on. So you kind of
yeah.
were
So
doing the
like we were
value
both
prop
we were
there.
both building these pillars up, right? These pillars of
Wow.
strength within ourselves, but we were not listening. We weren't breaking through the barrier on the other side for either one of us. So it was like a tension that was building over time, and within the last like year is when we finally broke through to the other one as a
If-
friendship.
What's your relationship with the bodybuilding, Jesse? What's your relationship with the weight loss, with dieting, whatever kind of journey you've been through with that?
Well, so I'm big on protein and fats, and just get into your macros and stuff like that. And just all I do is work out for 2 hours a day. That's all I do. And
That's a lot.
and I know that's a lot, but
I mean, I do too, but like for the average.
that might sound like a lot to a lot of people, but actually I want to go more, but I just don't want. I'm older too, so I want to make sure I keep my joints and everything in good condition too. But I've been working out my whole life. So I was an athlete earlier. So I played football for a long time, and I played basketball and softball and baseball and stuff like that. So um, I've been in pretty good shape. And it's just recently that I was like, I hurt my leg. And when I hurt my leg, I really started focusing on my diet. And I really started dialing in to my diet and getting the nutrients that I need for my body, the real nutrients, and the herbs and
I'm not gonna lie to anyone. In my journey right now, I'm 28 years old.
Sure.
My body is starting to be negatively affected more so by micronutrient intake than before. There's been times in my life where my micronutrient intake could not have been better. Like I was so dialed in. And again, I'm dialed in compared to most people, but as far as where I've been, like optimal, it's so hard for me to get back to that mental space where I care really a lot about the micronutrients. And I'm just being honest, it's hard for me sometimes because my body sometimes reacts positively to everything. Like sometimes I can eat McDonald's or I can imagine if I ate like 3 steaks or something and like potatoes and whatever I wanted, ketchup, all sorts of stuff, my body would take it, no worries. Like it wouldn't make me. So sometimes that there's no negative
That's
for me. But
interesting you
as
bring
I'm
that
getting a
up.
little older, I'm starting to see, like, if I don't sleep for 8 hours, like, I'm clearly more foggy in the morning.
I gotta say, it's interesting you bring that up because, like, with the eating McDonald's thing, because so once you reach a certain critical maximum of health and your metabolism's running at like a certain level
Yeah.
of efficiency, your body can literally vaporize anything you put in it. But it's when it starts to compound in your system and build up is when it starts to cause problems. So it's like your healthy people could eat more McDonald's and be fine. But if you're already unhealthy and you eat McDonald's, it's going to be twice as bad for you. The same way that liquidity in hex works as a factor of a function of a square. It works. It doesn't just double the effect; it quadruples the effect.
I love you. No, I guess the Axis is like the brother that I love my brother, but like this has been my problem. Let's talk a little bit about just like man growing up stuff, because I'm 28 years old. So when I was maybe 18 or so, 18, 19, 20, 21, like even all the way up until pretty much until I found Hex, to be honest, I can't find any intellectuals on the feet that I can talk to and really respect and just want to sit there and talk to them. It's not easy. There are not that many of them. And then I didn't know all of that. So you don't have that insight, right? I didn't think again, I'm not calling myself smart, but I am very determined. I want to learn and I want to study.
Don't let him fool you guys. This kid's smarter than he puts off.
But you know what I mean, though. Like, I wanted to find people that were like, and I couldn't.
So yeah,
find
this
them.
is like a really good topic because this is a struggle that we all face, I think, in our local area. Like you look around
Definitely.
locally and you're searching, right? Jesse, you're searching for this connection with somebody of like mind.
I don't mean to be mean, but a lot of times I feel like literally through my day that I'm floating and talking to zombies. Just
We live in a sick
talking to
society and
talking to
the
zombies all
relationships.
day long because it's all surface level conversations. They're all surface level. And nobody wants to dig a little bit deeper just to be themselves, to actually just even be themselves. They're afraid to be themselves. So they put on this persona of what they want you to believe, to see for themselves. And it just gets frustrating.
Oh gosh, you have to go to the bot. Like, if you've been to that point where you really want to die at any point in your life, if you want to die, or you wish that maybe you weren't existing, maybe not want to kill yourself, but like you're like, this is worse than I could have ever imagined. That is where the magic happens.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that in our own lives. Yeah,
that's where the
bottom's
magic
real.
happens.
Yeah.
I got on my knees. I swear to God, this is a true story. This is a true story.
Okay.
19 years old, in a jail cell, Wacomico County. I was on my knees and I said, God, I don't know if you're real. Seriously, I said this shit out loud. And I was not in a religious background growing up. So this was all just like, I was asking for help, like from someone. And I said, I won't do it again. And I've never done it since. And I've never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And I've never been arrested since that day. I've never been anything since that day, other than, I mean, I've had problems, but it's just, you have to accept yourself at the bottom, and then once everyone else accepts you, you realize that no one cares. No one cares about you at
That's
all.
that little violin. You're right. No one cares.
Well, no one's gonna care if you don't care, right? I think that's more the key point here is that if you lack the care, how can someone else put in the care?
Well, no, I'm saying though, for example, you can make $100 million. No, like, for example, it's just like people, it is a care thing, but at the end of the day, human brains are meant to forget things quickly. Get over it, because there's an army war going on and your people are getting slaughtered.
Hey, there's a lot of strength.
Resiliency. Yep.
So you need to have a short memory, because if you don't, you're going to hold on to things that's going to hold you back.
You won't grow.
Sure.
You can't.
You will not grow. It's like living in a state of fear. It's just not. It's like
lying too. If you lie, your hormone profile Absolutely.
Really?
I
That's
swear.
new. That's new information.
Well, don't you know, I would have to like relay it a little
Well, no,
bit
but it
more.
makes sense.
Like if you're holding back the truth, if you're not relaxed, if your cortisol is overdriven, it's like you are lying. Like, you know,
Well,
those
it's like a
people.
dog can sense a person with cancer. It's the same effect, right? You're sent like people can pick up on, especially emotionally intelligent people. They can pick up on, they can
Yeah.
read between the lines of what's coming out of your mouth, and it doesn't
Well,
take much to recognize that.
the perfect thing is the government. I mean, you can talk to them or see them on TV every single day, and they lie about everything. And we know those people are sociopaths or psychopaths.
Well, they
We
have to be,
know
but
that.
they have to be. They couldn't not be in that role. That role was meant for that person. Like, they made the role have to be basically that you have, just like being a YouTuber with 1 million subs. It's like you didn't start out talking about if he was natty or not, because you didn't give a rat's ass, and nor do I. I would never care if somebody was natty or not and compare that in a video. But what do? They start doing the YouTube thing so they can get really, 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 really popular, and it works, but they have to sell out what they like.
Sure.
It's like they're no longer even a minuscule amount. It turns into them suing everyone who copies their shit, and like they're just doing like little niche content that they never cared about in 1 million years before, but they stop talking about the stuff that Axis is talking about because it doesn't get like the immediate like bum rush of 100K clicks, because you have to be an actual intellectual to care.
So yeah, I grow my Twitter account the same way. It's all organic. Like
Twitter's
I might go through, I might like, so when we were hitting new lows on Bitcoin and Hex was holding, I was bringing in like 200 followers a day. Just the algorithm was feeding my account followers, and that was like the overflow. But then after that slows down, then you have to go, then you have, as long as you keep producing solid content, it'll revert back to the mean, but you'll still continue to grow at a steady rate. And the key here is steady. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, that's true.
Finance and with health, it's the same thing, because all of these systems are just human systems. They're a product of the human mind and behaviors. And so if you want to understand the truth, you have to understand the cosmos from a holistic point of view, or like a whole systems point of view, where there really is only one unified whole universe or system, and within it can be broken down and fragmented into multidimensional aspects or parallel universes, timelines, all these functions of physics that are really irrelevant to our little daily lives, but they also apply to our daily lives. And that's like the polarity of what life is on Earth for a human. And so at the end of this road, I think what we want to accomplish today is just to like give people some ground to stand on, and bring some new concepts to the forefront, and try to tie in why markets are a function of human behavior, and why human behavior is driven by health, nutrition, psychology, and all these other factors that are compounding, right?
And to get to the 1% of some of those things, it's way easier if you're in the 1% of other things like fitness, like nutrition, like mental health. Like if you're in the 1% of like quality mental health, whatever gauge that would be, obviously hard to gauge, but
Well,
you're
it's a
going,
function of, it's easy to gauge. You just see
you're
how happy is
outside,
that guy? How
but
happy is that
you're
guy? That's all
outside
it
of
is.
that
I agree with
psychological
you.
wave,
It takes
market
so
wave.
long to get to the 1%, but once you get there, it's easy to go do a lateral move into another industry. 100%. I totally agree with
Crazy.
that.
Well, we have all these traps out here. That's what it is. All these traps
Yeah.
in all these different industries and all these different sections. Anything that you go into, you almost fall into a trap, and you don't want to get trapped. It's hard. It's very hard because we are curious. Humans are curious. We want to go down paths like that, and that's how we get into these lies where everybody's constantly lying and wanting to be something that they're not. If you can just actually be your true self and then find what you truly love and then find your purpose and then talk to people like that, that would help out a lot. But most people are not like that. They want
Well,
to push
they don't
through
trust
life.
either. They don't trust. Like people always tell me not to trust. Like in the crypto community, they always like, don't trust anyone ever with
Sure.
anything, never.
Hmm.
But I don't live my life like that because I don't care.
Hmm.
Like I don't have overhead or children, so I don't have to like protect the bag that hard, if you know
Hmm.
what I mean. Like I'm more
Yeah, all
so,
three of us are in a similar position.
Yeah.
yeah, because this is why our brains can get to this point, because I tell everybody it's not about what you do sometimes about what you don't do. I have zero overhead, none. And that's not a product of anything other than I made sure my life had zero overhead.
Yeah.
Like,
So if you wanted to go back to the original thing, which was the dark place, for me, it was
yeah.
how I got rid of the overhead was during the COVID crash, I was mining Bitcoin and Ethereum, and
Gangster.
there's a lot of big power bills, right? My power bill was like $6,000 a month, and Jesse knows this because I was living paycheck to paycheck at that time, trying to fulfill my obligations, and it, I I I got to bring this side note up. I know I'm going to get sidetracked here because it's such a deep thing, and we'll
Okay.
get into the dark part of it. But I had a buddy that I had went into business with at the time, and made a post on Twitter not too long ago. He said something along the lines of, during the COVID crash when I was at my darkest place and I thought I was going to lose the building, that 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 every market sees a full cycle, a full return back to its all-time highs. Essentially, was what I'm paraphrasing what he said. And you can go back on my Twitter and find that tweet. He died in a house fire 3 months later, and that was the last thing that he ever said
In a
to me.
house fire?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty rough, man. It was like one of those things where like I woke up one day, and this was when I still had Facebook. I actually deleted Facebook a long time ago now, but I looked at that and I saw a news article that had his house, and it was like all black and like decayed. And I lived there for like 2 years when I was in Madison, just getting started working for Costco. So it was really tough to like see that happen to somebody that you thought was going to be here for a long time, and your finances aren't doing that well.
Yeah.
And all these things are compounding, and you don't know what's going to happen. I actually got sick with COVID in February, the real flu type version of it, and I was down for like 3 or 4 days. This was before before that was even like a public thing, and I was going to work on day 2, working like normal, just like it was the flu, because back then it was the old way of thinking about sickness, where get your ass to work, like don't be a pussy, this and
So
that. And
dumb.
meanwhile, and then everyone flips in mid-March of 2020, right? But
Yep.
anyway, so I go in. I actually got in trouble for calling in one day because I was so sick. And then it was months later they came back and said, "Though that wasn't right that we did that to you." And then they paid me for the day, and then they took away the counseling notice or whatever. But point is, like, when I was at my darkest place, there was a point within me that I was like, I really don't need to be here anymore. But I couldn't have been more wrong, because look at where we are now and look at how far we've come. And
You're
that was all
protected.
setting
You
up.
need it.
That
They
was
need.
setting the table. That was
Yeah,
setting the table
they needed
for
you to go
this.
through that though. Like,
Nobody, I would like we
Life
are a
lessons.
product of our hardest times.
exactly. It's nothing to do with brain power or anything. It's like you have to survive. And when God or life throws you into a situation that's rather crazy, your brain does survive. It finds out how. And then you learn. And you're like, wow, I could do this over. I said, you could take everything from me and I'll get it back in 8 months.
What is that saying? Hard times create strong men.
Yes.
So how do you raise your children though? So that the other side of that saying is that then it's the opposite of that. So let's say that I'm all masculine and rich and have a bunch of children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And then I have to teach them in a way in which I don't want them to necessarily go through the dangerous stuff that I maybe went through, but you can't stop life. That's when you have to have faith.
So this is where I look at it like a video game. Like when you
That's
have
very
kids
hard.
under your household, like you need to set it up so that they can make mistakes within the bounds of them not being permanently damaged, right? Because you need to guide them along a track. They don't need
Yeah.
to fall off the track completely, but they need to feel
But Mitch,
some
I
pain,
will
but not
say
too much
this.
pain. You're a
Th-
father. I'm not a father. You would
Yeah,
know.
this is hard though, because a lot of times we get into relationships we're not even supposed to be in, or have kids with people that we're not even supposed to have with
Tell me more
people.
about that.
And I mean, that's really hard. So I mean, I'm coming out of a relationship. I shouldn't have had kids so young. I was very young when I had kids. So I was 20 when I had my first kid. And it's just very hard. And if you're not on the same sync with the mother, then you're gonna have a hard time. You're because and that's rough in
Yeah.
itself. because I mean, now you're trying to parent from two different households, and a lot of times that just doesn't work out.
I'm afraid that my child would be like me.
Is that a bad thing though? That might be a good thing.
I know, but geez, Louise.
Not another
Yeah,
one.
like it's all worked out now, but Lord have mercy on my soul, you know.
Well,
Like,
don't you think, Jim Rat, don't you think that's why you've waited so long and that you're setting this up?
I want to have a protective area that I live in, like not a protective area, but a nice area. And I want to have a good amount of money before I have children. And I want the person that I have children with, I want to trust them
Yes.
with everything.
See, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I was in bad relationships early off in my when I was younger. And now I understand relationships a lot better. And now I have the tools to be in a better relationship. So I was not ready for a relationship just because, I mean, that's a lot of times that's how we're taught. That's how we're brought up.
Yes.
At least for myself, that's how I was brought up. So I wasn't really taught anything about having a healthy, good adult relationship. And a lot of times you learn from the behaviors that are around you. And a lot of times that we're in toxic relationships, or you see your mom in a toxic relationship. And at the time, you don't know that it's toxic. But then as time goes on and you get older, then you understand the do's and don'ts. And I mean, it's hard, but that's part of life, and that's what we got to do. We got to separate that, and we got to teach our kids that at a young age, and just surround them in a healthy environment where they can make their own mistakes. Like you said, we're setting them up for a guide. We're just kind of guiding them along to make their own choices, because everybody comes in this world by themselves, and you're going to leave this world by yourself. So
Bolus, jump on it. If you are there, he might not be in the spot to jump on, but I love your perspective too. And I think everyone knows that you have children. I hate to dox you if they didn't know that, but I think everyone knows that.
You're muted, bro.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Bullish. How do you think about this situation?
Yeah, I was just commenting in the green room. I can totally relate because that's pretty much the route I took. Because I had so many people around me who made those mistakes. Had kids with people they had no business having children with, or having children at a certain age where they had no business having children. So I kind of look to people around my circle and pretty much learn from their mistakes. And I waited pretty much 11 years with my wife before I had children, because by that point I was sound mentally. Well, at least at that time I'm like, okay, I'm mentally prepared to have children, mentally prepared to have children with her. And also that trust factor that you mentioned. By the time we had children, I literally had this conversation with my wife. I was like, look, I think we're ready to have kids, regardless if you and me never work out. You're the only person I trust to have children with.
Is that something that you kind of you developed over a period of time, like kind of like proof of work, or was that something that you knew immediately that you had something different with this person?
Yeah.
I knew, kind of immediately that I had something with this person, but because of what I've seen happen, again in my circle, I knew it was best to wait as long as possible.
Now, what made you feel trustworthy towards your girl? Were there maybe some traits that she showed that you were like, hey, maybe, when I know you were young too, so it's hard to really.
Yeah, I got married young. That was another thing. I got married young, but I didn't do what most people do.
But what do you think some of the traits that she has that have kept her being positive? Because the way you talk about her, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's an amazing woman, and I think it's at the end of the day, we don't rely on each other to push forward. But we push each other forward. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense?
Yeah.
You push each other.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, whether she's with me or not, she's still gonna do her. The same thing with me. Whether I'm with her or not, I'm still gonna do me.
Like, you guys have found some sort of homeostasis where you can be individuals, but you can also fall back on each other.
Right. And
that might have been something you recognized early, but then throughout time it kind of like built up to something more.
Yeah, absolutely. Because my marriage wasn't easy in the beginning. It was a roller coaster, and we got through that. And then I think I've shared this story before. 7 years into my marriage, essentially my wife and I started having a long distance marriage. She went to law school in a different state, about 6 hours away. We did the whole, weekend thing, and there was a lot of, rough patches during that time, but we got through it. And shortly after that, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm ready. She's ready. You're the one. I'm the one. Let's make it happen. Let's start this family.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
starting
great.
to get baby rabies over
Yeah,
here.
we can start digging into a little. We can flip gears here and start digging into some charts and
So
shit.
before we do that, Axis is nice enough to give your boy GRC and Jesse and Bullish and everyone watching a nice little TA update. I kind of asked him if he would, because for me, like, I know a lot about Hex, the nuts and bolts, staking, DeFi, but there's still some things that just as experience, you need experience and keep learning these charts, keep looking at things. And when I listen to these guys, that's where I get my best info. But before we get into that, guys, we're about 31 minutes in. I'm going to drop the link again. Go to the Twitter, hit the retweet button, share this out. And Bullish, do you mind sending that thumbnail to the Telegram so I can post it on my Instagram? Share this out, guys. We're going to keep talking here. We're going to get into some crypto. This has been absolutely awesome so far for me. I don't know about everyone else, but these are the conversations that I like to have.
Yeah, and I mean, it all comes back to markets in the end because it's all just human behavior. Like if you're not strong in yourself, you're gonna struggle with trading / charting. So it's all mental game.
So what are we looking at here?
This is the U.S. dollar. If you guys want to just put if you guys have something important like that you want brought up, we'll look at that chart. Just kind of put it in the chat. I'm kind of trying to watch that as well as chart here, but
yeah,
this is the U.S. dollar over 60. Let's see, from 1967 all the way through to modern day, and each one of these candles represents 6 months of time.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, over the last year and a half, the dollar's done nothing but go up, which means people are exiting risk assets like stocks, like cryptocurrency, because they are beginning to have obligations that need to be paid because the Federal Reserve is making borrowed money more expensive to borrow. So what that does is if somebody's got to pay for something, they have to sell something to pay for something. So what they end up doing is they start selling things like this next chart I'm about to show you, which is like the S&P index, which is a combination of.
So for everyone in here, what he's kind of explaining, if you're a little bit more new, is that some of the assets that we all are in, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Hex, S&P 500, the people are moving maybe out of those in order to protect themselves from some downward volatility moving forward. That's kind of where he's getting at with that,
Right.
just for the people that are like brand new.
So like this is the stock market since 2000, or this is the S&P index. So it's the top 500 companies in the index form, so that you can kind of see their combined valuations go up and down over time. And the reason why you'd look at something like this is like if you wanted to see the reason why like an individual stock, like let's say Amazon here, like see Amazon came back down and retested this lower trend line, but then got bought back up. Like if you wanted to know, like, because Amazon doesn't do this very often, you go back through time, like, look, it stayed inside this channel for a long time. And then back in 2020, or I'm sorry, 2020, 2018, leading into 2020, the money printer started getting turned on. And then we broke up into a whole new channel. And this was all a function of money printing. So my argument here with like what's happening in the economy right now, if I go back to the S&P, hold on. Basically, like we're just trying to get back down to the mean, because like everything that's been happening in the economy has been a function of artificial growth. It's not real growth.
Yeah.
Like everyone quit working, and entrepreneurs started innovating and allowing technology to vaporize old business models, and that's going to continue to happen. So you're going to have less of a need for labor jobs, and
Yeah.
all that's going to get automated by computing. And so that's what this is doing is the Fed raises interest rates and it starts sucking the money out of the system because people have to protect themselves and pay for things still. That's why you're seeing downward moves on like the S&P, or like if I go to like crypto, what's that total? This is like the total crypto market cap.
Wow.
On a since 2014. Well, it still looks pretty damn good. Like crypto's still the future, but we're gonna go through some turbulent times until all that free money gets sucked out of the system and the Fed can convince you guys to go back out and start innovating and earning again.
Yep. Yeah, it's a super interesting time. We were looking at the candles in the S&P, and there hadn't been 7 straight weeks of red candles on the S&P since long before 2008.
Can
And
you put up crypto curricula's healthy constriction argument? Because that's a good point. Basically, what he's trying to say is like
health. I'll just read it real quick, and then healthy constriction of economy to correct the reverse repo pump. It hurts, but if Fed stays hawkish, then we can establish true base values sooner and get back to growth-oriented outlooks. I totally agree.
Yeah. So basically, what he's saying is that you need to get rid of the fake to create fertile. You need to till the land to create fertile ground for an actual true economy to be reborn under a new economic model. And that's like a big way of saying that, decentralized currencies are basically getting rid of all the middlemen. We see that every day. And I always come back to this example of this company called Daily Harvest, which is a food production. They basically hire out organic farms from all over the country to produce high quality organic food and then ship it to your door for a cost of $8 to $10 per meal. So what that's effectively doing is it's a subscription-based service that you don't have to go to the grocery store. You don't even have to go to your local farmer's market. They're sending you to your front door the healthiest, most nutrient-dense foods through an app on your phone. And that's like an example of a business model that's totally going to throw in wrench in something like McDonald's or throw in a wrench in like just regular local options that you might have. I'm actually pro local, and I think what's happening on a larger scale is we're going back to local over local, but also like convenient. So it's a combination of the two, and we're going to get rid of all the fluff. That's what I think's happening.
There's a lot of fluff in the crypto industry. What's your take on some of these coins that are maybe held up? Like, I'll tell you what I was looking at last night in my personal study or this time. I was looking at how disgusting the ADA chart actually looks at from a support standpoint. Like I was kind of comparing it to Hex in my mind. But if you look at it, like,
so this is Cardano here on a weekly chart, and I was actually involved into the 2017 bull run where it started off at like tiny, and then it ran all the way to like from 8 cents to like $1.37, I think it was. This is saying $1.42. And I remember that because look at how fast that happened in 35 days. and then began, and like that was all the FOMO around Charles Hoskinson being like bringing on the third generation of cryptocurrencies was the narrative back then. But then what happened was there was no utility, there was no actual market value that was offered, and it was just a baseless ghost token. And so then what you saw was this 99% drop down to like under a penny
with no support.
There's just no support.
There's no support. And that's the one thing that you notice when you look at this chart compared to others. It's like or compared to Hex, it's like in Hex, like that 13-cent support, the support in Hex is wild.
So like your next level, like this was like a quick little bounce support here, but look at it's getting resisted by the 200 weekly moving average, which that is a terrible sign. That is gonna roll over and break through this support like butter, and then your next best bet is probably like right here.
Now look at the Hex chart and kind of show like how
in comparison
it holds.
This is what you're dealing with, because this is so basically what we're saying is this thing's gonna basically just go like this and then spill. And then you got like Hex where look at how much structure this chart has. So like, yeah, it can continue to spill, but look at their support here. There's support here, support here. And then like when you get the farther you go down, this is like infinite levels of support. You know what I'm saying? Like the amount of like selling that's gonna have to happen to continue to bust through these levels. Like once you hit 2 cents, like it's gonna be tough. Like you might see wick lows, but and the argument I have for this is like basically we'll come back into the Bitcoin charts. Like you value these things. So we're moving towards a Bitcoin and T-share denominated world because those are the only fixed global assets that are immutable and can't be manipulated, but also pay inflation to the users without middlemen. So that's really key because it gives control back to the sovereigns and takes it away from authoritarians. And that's important because that's going to fix the runaway inflation problem. The runaway inflation problem is a function of false metrics like the CPI and all these things. The CPI is the Consumer Product Index. What that's supposed to do is it's supposed to measure things like goods and services in the economy, but they keep omitting more and more layers of the economy so that the numbers work in their favor. But with Hex and the Hex T-share rate and with the Bitcoin inflation schedule that's permanent, immutably locked for 4 years, every 4 years it comes down in half. Those are two separate but immutable economies in a sense. And so the things that people are going to have to learn to value things against solid money and not artificial human error money and based on fake metrics, basically. I hope that kind of came across. There's a lot of like detail and levels to this stuff, but the
Well, I
point
think
is
where
that
I get lost, Axis, if I'm going to be 100% honest, like when you start talking about those factors, there was a couple of things that you said. There's some factors within the legacy finance system that are basically just like, it just seems like variable to what they decide.
right. So when the Fed says money printer off,
Yeah,
people
it's
get
like,
scared. When Fed says money printer on, people fucking get greedy.
but you
So
can
it's
front
like
run that
it's
too,
like
right?
it's
In
like a
your mind.
pendulum. It's like a pendulum, and this is greed, and then this is fear. And money printer on is just straight fear, or money printer off is straight fear, and then there's no like, all right, we're gonna slowly tick, we're gonna find equilibrium. No, it just goes from fear to straight to greed, straight back to fear, straight back to greed. And so there's no because the economy is a function of moving markets that are a product of computer systems with infinitely fast information speeds. So like the rate of information is actually the key factor in here. So as time, I'm gonna try to pull up a chart here. Like over time, what we've done is we've shrunk the world through technology. And hold on, I gotta find the chart so I can stay on track here. But this chart here. So like if this is the Earth back in year 1000,
Wow.
like it took us like it was like the average speed of a human was 15 kilometers per hour. And then we had, in 1840, the invention of the steam locomotive, ships, and automobiles. So then the average speed of the human became 100 kilometers an hour. So the world got smaller in relative to the speed at which humans could travel. And then continue on farther, you get propeller planes, jet planes, supersonic transport. And then you get the speed of the internet with information being infinitely quick with broadband technology, which allows us to create this exponential parabola of growth in human connection, which is like the verticality and the phase shift into an infinite time traveling species that goes out into the galaxy. So this is the make or break point, the singularity by which we break all the old systems and we rebuild them as a totally new whole system that benefits the sovereigns and does not need an authoritarian figure because those aspects are controlled by immutable code that protects everybody, even the bad people. It protects both. And in Hex, it punishes bad behavior if you default on a stake earlier, or in Bitcoin, if you overinvest in mining equipment, you're going to get washed out in the bear market. So these are all functions of free market economies. These are not functions of somebody artificially presenting false CPI data
And
or deciding I want to raise or lower interest rates.
in your opinion, can you front run this as an individual, not as like a unit, but like as an individual, you feel like you can use the information that you have obtained through all this to kind of anticipate?
Yeah, because all you need to do is look at this chart right here. Because look, we all already know through Metcalfe's law that computer systems are a function of the number of users in the network. So like this blue graph here on the lower left is just what the user adoption has been over the last 2 years of Hex. So if you just copy that over and we get the same user adoption, you guys go out, tell one friend, and then those guys tell one friend, and then those guys tell one friend. Well, linearly, when you get to 400,000 stakers way out here in 2028, granted, I think we're going to do better than that. Come on, we're Hexicans, but
that's a safe.
but let's just say we did. Well, then you'd be looking at like a 30-cent hex, right? Because that's just a function of the square of its users. So if you have 400, I forget how the math worked out here. I wrote it down somewhere. But anyway, the point is that the more like as you add users, the network becomes more valuable. So why would users come into Hex? Well, because there's volatility in hex. So if I pull up the hex chart, the value is in that some like traders are greedy, and they're going to be the bodies that we stand on as stakers,
I'll be
basically.
right back. I just have to pee real quick.
All right. So if I pull up the Uniswap chart, like this volatility that we've been seeing, like when there's a lack of volatility, it gets boring and people get bored, and so then because hex has super low liquidity, it creates more volatility, which creates opportunity, which creates value. If that makes sense. You got any questions, Jesse?
No, I'm just taking it in, man. I'm just taking everything in.
Yeah, this is very useful information.
What do you think about Russia?
We can pull up the Russian ruble chart, because that kind of tells the story.
Russia's backed by gold now, right?
Right. So let's first pull up the gold chart. So this is the gold chart. I'm going to switch out to a monthly time frame so you can kind of get an idea for where we've come from.
Sure.
Like, actually, I got to go 6 month to really give you a perspective. Okay, so this is going back to 1968, 1967, and that was the great bull run on gold. It lasted 4,300 days. And then in 2000, after the dot-com bubble, there was a rush back to gold as a safe haven, and up until 2012, and that was the second big bull market in gold. But now, currently, we had retraced and recovered, and now we're in on a cup and handle, which is a bullish pattern, meaning gold is holding strong at near all-time highs.
Yeah.
And then so then when Russia comes along and backs theirself with gold, it actually creates a stronger ruble and a stronger gold market too, because they're a function of their liquidity. So if Russia's forcing people to buy rubles to buy oil, then that also pumps the gold price. So if you go look at the Russian ruble versus the dollar is based on over financialization, and so we were able to manipulate our way to a point where we were up, like the dollar was up 3,300% against the ruble in 10,000 days, basically since 1994. But what happened was we tried, like when I say we, I'm talking about the Fed and any large megacorps that was in on this, was they ran it up, the dollar against the ruble 100%, and then that's when Putin stepped in and said, we're done playing this game. We're not playing the U.S. petrodollar game anymore, and they backed it with gold right here. And ever since then, the ruble became stronger versus the dollar. So what ended up happening was the dollar lost 50% of that value and erased that entire pump. And now what's going to happen is you're going to start to see the ruble tie itself more and more to gold. And as long as demand continues to increase for their oil production, should strengthen the gold and oil markets.
Yeah.
We'll be rewatching the stream 5 more times. Thanks for everyone in the comments too, guys. You guys have been absolutely active. Hexicat, Terrafin, Orca. Good to see you in here, Taryn. I'm hopeful Hex gets me land from which I can feed and supply the people. Yes, I am very hopeful for that as well. Par Hexcellence, great to see you in here. Bob Lagai has been just kicking it, having a good time in here. Guys, we're having a bit finesse. Great to see you in here. Redbird, Archie S, R23, great to see you, brother. Melv Tony, I mean, come on.
These are kind of cool. These are all the Bitcoin charts versus the altcoins. Like you can see that all the altcoins in the bull run like ran up big on Bitcoin, but when I say big, you're talking like 4,000%, 11,000% Matic. Matic was one of the big movers.
Yeah.
But now they're coming down hard, and you can look at these charts. Like a lot of them are down 60 to 80 to 90% against Bitcoin, but they didn't have. Like here's Solana that did like from here, I think it was like 250,000%. That was like the biggest mover against Bitcoin, but it's farther down even than 64% now, and it keeps going down. So that's going to continue to lose its peg to Bitcoin. But the Hex chart, look at ADA, just hasn't even looked straight down. BNB is one of the stronger cryptos too, but look at Hex, like it did a 600,000% move against it, and even though it went down 76%, it's still holding that support line. And look at that wick, man. That tells you that Hex holds Bitcoin value better than any other cryptocurrency.
It just shows you that there's actual people there trying to buy. Like there's people, there's humans, there's like
product market fit.
There's guys like me. Like literally, like I'm
Like
in this
the
world.
feelings that that Jim Rad and I are having right now is like we're pissed off that we don't have more capital to dump into this right
Oh
now.
my God.
That's the feelings that we're having because we know where it's going to go based on this Hex Bitcoin chart.
Yeah, it's just as simple as like it's just black and white, really.
So
If
the
you
way
really
I
look
see
at
it happening and playing out is like here's our wick from the other day. So I just added in this price action. Like if you get a Bitcoin bottom between September and December of this year, you could see like a low price of like 2.5 cents maybe on Hex with a wick down to like some of those crypto sniper price targets of like 0.007 to 1.1 cents. But that's not going to hold down there, in my opinion.
no,
I mean,
there's
I
no.
shouldn't say that with full confidence because if the Fed was continually going to put pressure on the economy, anything's possible because people got to feed their families. But all in all, there's enough billionaires backing this and enough fundamentals coming into this that I feel like over the next year, this is going to round out pretty nicely. I thought it was going to round out here, and I will take fault for that breakdown past 14 cents when we got up here on my May 5th stream. That was because everything was looking like good to go, and then we had the market manipulation here. That's what that was. The liquidity got ripped out of the system, and we're back to basically where we were.
How many millions of dollars were lost in slippage on that? If you looked into it.
Oh, I have no idea. It's
I
not
don't
even
know.
important.
Yeah, I just wanted to know. Like, I want to know how much they ate on it. Just 'cause I was
Somebody
curious.
knows.
Yeah,
Orca
definitely
might know,
someone
or
knows.
somebody in the chat might know.
But as far as the tight liquidity, like that's what scares a lot of people in Hex, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you always mention this like a lot. Like everyone mentions it and hears
Well,
it, but
like
you mention it a lot. Like
yeah, if you guys missed the stream from Kareem and Wales and I the other day, you'd want to come
so
back and watch
good.
that
That was
because
so
we
good,
talked
dude.
about the share acceleration, and we talked about the liquidity rug that we did. So you see how this liquidity got rugged all the way back down to so at the all-time high. This was just on the April 25th. We had $31 million in the liquidity pools across Ethereum and USDC, and then it basically got rugged out. But now we're just back to where we were August of last year. So that's actually bullish because we can base out like this on the liquidity, and people can trade this range and make like 100% gains. The traders can, and then we can stand on their bodies and make this go back up, but in a stable way, not in a fucking parabolic way. That's important because you want market structure. You don't want this type of up down up down up down action. This was just big hex whales just basically milking and ripping Ethereum off the system. Basically, it was mostly ETH whales that just wanted to increase their ETH position, and Bitcoin whales wanting to get their Bitcoin positions back from all the free claims and whatnot. So this is just a flush. This is a big flush. And now that we're back down to like August of last year liquidity levels, there's so much more volatility. There's opportunity for traders. There's opportunity for long-term buyers to buy here at cheaper prices. So that's all bullish things. So when everyone is screaming death and blood, you should be thinking the opposite. Be the opposite of the herd.
Yeah. So can you post the link for the stream here? You're in the stream, so the link is there, but I'll post it. There's the post for that. As far as how my question is just like what I would be curious about for you would be how long we've never seen Hex with a prolonged bear market, right? And like, is that just a function of like compared to Ethereum and Bitcoin at this time was the how long do you think we can be prolonged? Not that I really give a rat's ass, but I'm just more so curious.
Yeah,
Like,
so if you want the most conservative, like
yeah,
longest bearish thing, I think by 2026 we're going to be over $1 as like super conservative.
yeah.
Because remember, it's all a function of Metcalfe's law. You're telling me that we can't add 400,000 users in 5 years? I fucking doubt that. I would challenge you all that we couldn't do that
In a year.
in 5 years and by 2026. Like we have 2023, 2024, 2025. We have a movie coming out. We have billionaires accumulating. We have PulseCon in September. We have Pulse Chain coming out. We have a Hex investment trust to get legacy money into the system. There was over $1 billion sacrificed. You know, all these factors are. There's supposed to be a popular exchange listing Pulse Chain. Like it's all these factors are going to compound and create an opportunity for people, right? So this is sowing the seeds for the inevitable. Is what's happening.
Where does the Bitcoin halving in 2024 come into play here? What does that? And I'm asking because
I got a chart. Let me, before you pull it up, let me just try to find it. But basically, like, what the Bitcoin halving is the driver of the entire crypto market. It'll even impact Hex to some degree, because until that happens, miners continually can mine profitably. And if you don't understand how the Bitcoin mining economy works, you don't understand cryptocurrency. Basically, is my point.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the
Go
basis
into
for
that
everything.
just that
Yeah,
little
sure.
bit if you can.
You guys want to look at just like some of the metrics of what a guy can make mining right now? Because like that
Yeah,
would be
absolutely. I think that'd be interesting.
hash rate index. All right, pull this up once. Tools.
Oh, my bad. Whoops.
I think there's a lot of ways you can factor this, but you can basically there's different factors that goes into how you calculate if a mining operation is profitable or not. What this is saying is that if with one Bitcoin miner of the highest caliber right now, you're getting 110 terahashes of compute power. And I know that doesn't mean anything to you guys, probably most of you. But what that's saying is that 110 terahashes probably costs, I don't know, probably $3,000 for one of those things. So you got to figure all these mining operations have to run profitably, right? And they have tons of overhead, power bills, computers to buy. So until they can't make money anymore, the Bitcoin price won't bottom. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Like this chart, this stuff here can show you like what a miner's making right now. Like here's the L7 miner. That's a Litecoin miner. Let's just look up Bitcoin miners because that's the base.
This is very interesting for me.
Okay.
And Jesse, I'm like kind of new to the super technical part of crypto. Like that's kind of what I'm into. So I know that from what Axis said, you're kind of more so on the new side as far as learning about all this stuff too. So I hope you're just enjoying this information as much as I am. I'm just, yeah. I don't want to.
I just love taking in the information. I'm a good listener. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make sure, I'm learning. This is learning for me. So
this is basically saying like if your Bitcoin mining operation costs your electric cost is 6.5 cents to run, that if you have this machine, one of them, you're gonna make $17 a day. So then you got to go in here and you have to figure out what that's gonna cost you. Well, look at the price tag on that. $40,000 for one of those. Yeah, okay. To get an output of 1760 a day. So you understand like that
ridiculous.
Bitcoin miners become more expensive as Bitcoin price goes up. As Bitcoin price comes down, Bitcoin miners become cheaper because they're not as profitable. It's the same with the T-share rate. T-share rate readjusts itself. Right. So like if you were like me and you were getting like expensive electric, apply it. So that $17 a day on that $40,000 miner is only $12.38 for me back on my setup. So it's a combination of all these factors that are playing into where the Bitcoin chart bottoms. So then we'll come back to the Bitcoin chart. Because I mean, I could probably do a whole stream on just that if you guys are interested, but it's not going to be today because I actually got to get going here in about 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, whenever you guys have to go to, this has been absolutely
but this is kind of just a projection that I had out for a 3-day chart. Let's see here, something like this, like where I think like your Bitcoin bottom, like. So if I just like drew this out, that's kind of how I saw it going. Like this pattern we're printing right here feels a lot to me like 2015 or 2014. Like if you go back to 2014, hold on, I gotta pull up the BLX. I know I'm jumping charts a lot, you guys, but I'm trying to get a lot in a short period of time. And if you're confused on this stuff, just come back and rewatch it a couple times, and it'll start to make more sense. So if I take a bars pattern on this price action from 2015 and pull it out to current time, it's got a similar looking structure to it. Depending on how you line it up, but like you see how this has got some similarities right here. So like you just kind of like try to line these up. Well, look, we could be close to bottoming technically, but it might not bottom until next January, right? If it was like last time. But what you have to understand is the law of diminishing returns. so that these market cycles take longer and longer to play out. So not only can there can be reduced volatility where it like trades in a smaller range, or there can be, and then it goes longer. So like maybe this goes out longer and then starts to curve up because of the law of diminishing returns, and the bigger market means less volatility. Or you'd want to see this spill harder and then V bottom out, and then we can get out of here quicker. Money printers get turned on when the Fed pivots on their stance and goes from hawkish, meaning high interest rates, to dovish, meaning low interest rates. And when the money printers get turned on and that stuff becomes easier to get, it also becomes easier to pump Bitcoin, right? So what we're looking for is you got to combine the Bitcoin mining metrics with the market behavior, and you have to try to find some sort of symbiosis there and try to find a bottom. And
Yeah,
it's
find the
not up to any
delta
one
and
of us; it's up to the market as a whole to decide that.
Where do you see Bitcoin long term? I mean, this is
Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million probably. I just don't know the time frame.
5 years, 10 years, maybe.
No, probably longer than that. I think people are. I think that I think that the really true valuable stuff like Hex is going to steal so much market share from Bitcoin that retail is basically done with I'm not saying that retail is done with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's people are just figuring that out. Like people are just figuring out Bitcoin, right? So like, but that takes, so just think about how long it took people to figure out Bitcoin. That's kind of why this market cycle is going to be a lot longer now, right? Because if it took them this long to figure out Bitcoin, it's going to take them this much longer to figure out how to buy Bitcoin. Same thing applies.
And where does the Pulse chain launch come into play here?
So you're like looking for a Pulse chain launch when we bottom, which could be end of year potentially.
But as far as like what you've seen in general, like when you've seen some of these layer ones, you've been around. So you've seen them launch. You've heard Richard say stuff launches in a bear market. We've all looked at the layer one success. What can something like this really do when the market is in a very horrible position?
It can do a lot.
I know you don't.
In the case of Pulse, no, I can say with confidence that like if Pulse chain gets launched when the market bottoms and the Fed pivots and starts money printing, and that's all timed up, that what Pulse chain could do for price is amazing, because people are gonna, it's so easy to hit one button and go from Ethereum wallet right into your Pulse chain wallet. And so it's just going to be an easier place to transact with less friction, and money flows to where it's treated best, which is also a function of Metcalfe's law, which means easier user adoption and onboarding, which means higher prices faster, which means increased exponential cycles, which means increased information flows, which means people with better like more positive mindsets, which means a stronger world, like a stronger society, which all comes back to that evolution of like how we shrunk the world down through technology, and now our capacities are effectively limitless as a species. Now what we have to do is solve the human problems, such as, you know, the sickness in our society and the entitlement and the 7 deadly sins. Like we need to all come to terms with that stuff, admit that that's in us, you know, face it and start to grow, because if we don't, the alternative is we get to be controlled by an authoritarian government.
I want some of the technologies and different things like that released to us. That's what I would like to see. There's so many things that are hidden. I mean, I know took that in a total different direction, but that's what I would like to see. I would like to see disclosure at a large level. That's what I'd like to see for all of humanity. For anybody that chooses to see what they truly want to see in this world. Because, I mean, we've been lied to about everything.
Yeah.
Everything. There's nothing that we haven't been lied to since birth. And some of that is not our fault, because, you know, our parents were just doing what they thought was the best for us. But I just want the truth. That's what I want. I think deep down in other lives and stuff like that, I was a true seeker back then, even. So I'm just looking for the truth. That's all I want. Then I'll make my decisions according to that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like there's no transparency. Marketing is absolutely out of control. It's almost just, you can't even look at it. Like if you want to be woke or like, understand how things work at all. You have to isolate yourself. I was talking to Axis about this earlier.
Yeah.
Like, I very much isolate myself from a lot of things. It's a function. I mean, it's a feature rather than a bug. Like, I do it because outside influence, I see what it does to others. It locks them into some value structure that makes no sense. They're drinking every weekend and hoping they get laid, and they think that's the goal.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
dude,
yeah, the whole
Yeah.
living for the weekend theory. Yeah, it doesn't work for me anymore.
Yeah.
oh, dude,
That's
it's like,
exactly
what am
right.
I doing? ROI 0, losing money constantly. Like, I can't. And I'm but the money aside, like, my value structure back then was like, if I get with a chick tonight, like, my life will somehow
Magically.
be better.
Jesse
Like,
knows all about
and
it,
I'll be
bro.
hungover. I probably won't work in the morning. I mean,
Meaningless sex.
and not
It-
even that. It's like, just
Vacuous
why am I
relationship.
care? Why would I care? It's the whole like, why
We didn't
would
know
I
better,
care?
right? I think that's I can't, I can't speak for you, but I'm assuming that when you were there, that was like how you value. That's how you defined success, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. And now I'm just like, how silly was
But
I?
that's not a that proves that you guys are both amazing people because it wasn't. It was the information that you had was wrong. It wasn't that you were wrong. You're still driven to do what's right. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about
That's
streaming
true.
with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's what I love about streaming with you, dude. You're like to me, Hex bear market, I can capitalize on that, right? That I've learned that I can dollar cost average into crypto that I trust in the future. And I don't think about that as a function of my being, though. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been attached because I'm new to crypto and like new to online stuff. So it's not attached to me like it is attached to some other people. Like, but at the same time, it's like, what were we talking about again?
We're just talking about how in the beginning you guys valued success from a different angle and you
Yeah.
shifted your perspective on it.
I think a lot of people have problems because they value like somehow that their bag in crypto like translates to like their value in life. And I think that's so naive. It's so naive. It's like, it makes no sense. It's like
Right.
your value you have
Well,
in life.
that's how you survive in a bull market, but that's not how you survive in a bear market.
Well, they do that in every facet, though. They do it in school. They do it
Yeah.
for their grades. They do it for, cars. They do it for women, relationships. They do all of that. That's how it translates into everything, like you were just saying.
I was in the red pill community and the dating community for a couple years, and I took paid courses and did all that stuff and like learned all about like the red pill life and all that. You guys know what I'm talking about. And what it put me back. It sped up my process because I had a lot more life experience, like really quick. Like I went on a serial dating bender and I dated like multiple people at one time. But it almost like got me to the point where it's like, oh, I know this is a lie. They're lying about the truth. They're selling guys like me who were hurt. I was broken at the time, broken about a girl, broken. I don't care what anyone says. Y'all been there.
I know I have.
Yeah, and I needed help. So I went, where do I go? I have nobody on feet, like I mentioned before. I went to the internet, right? And there was these guys there, and they had a service, and basically they taught you how to be basically like a manipulative sex addict, which is fine. It happens, but like that's not the truth. That is not reality, and that is not happy. There's nothing happy about that. I need to trust people. I need to trust people. I don't want to, all of that not trusting people stuff. I don't want that.
Yeah, I mean that's totally like you can build those relationships. You don't have to like throw 100% of your trust in on day one, you can
Of course, yes.
you can get a good vibe from somebody and then just kind of
But
just
that's
think
what I
about it.
want, like at the end of the day. Like before that wasn't even like a thing. I didn't even like think, like I was just like, trust, who cares? Like I screw them. I'll make them feel like like I'll make them feel like crap, But
Well, just
anyway,
start with the conversation first, and then you just build it up.
I've never had an intimately connected relationship with someone I was 100% honest with.
I'm scrolling through Twitter that people are
Are
liking your
you
stream.
talking about women?
Crazy.
With women.
Yeah.
Not with men, of course. Yeah, I have many men that I talk to every day that I trust and I tell everything. But as far
I'm
as a
pretty
woman,
closed off,
I've
man.
never looked across at a
pretty-
woman and said to myself, like, I could, like, I want to open up to you. I just never been there yet. But I'm trying to, like, I think that's normal too. Like, I'm 28 years old. It's not like,
Well, dude, that's part of that whole protection that you're doing you're protecting yourself from
Yeah.
like, remember what happened when you were 19, you said never again. Well, and then you went through all these trials and tribulations. Well, you basically been doing that for experience to build up to the point where you're ready, and you're just not ready yet. And that's part of the natural process, right? Like, it's just crazy because, I was in a 7-year relationship, and it was awesome, for like sometimes, and then other times we couldn't have been more disconnected. And I tried to force things that weren't gonna work long term, and I needed experience that I couldn't get when I was with her. And so you exit that world, and you commit to yourself that you're gonna go on a penance, and you're gonna create for yourself the reality you want to live in. And then as those things start to come online for you, naturally, as a product of who you are being and who are you expressing yourself as, you will attract into your life the people that you will feel confident enough to put your trust into. And that's all happening for me, like live, like you're experiencing it right now.
yeah, it's crazy. It's
That's
really
awesome.
crazy what we're going through right now. And I think this is a good time to wrap up.
Yep.
We had a great show, guys. Axis brought us through the macro on the whole financial system. We talked about the man stuff. We did some mansplaining, guys. The mental health is the most important asset in a bear market, period. End of story. End of story. If you can be happy, when I wake up in the morning, I'm very happy usually. At night, I get a little grumpy, but in the morning, I'm happy about the day. I'm excited to do stuff. It's not about, I don't think about the price. I think about the stuff that I can accomplish in the day. So just remember, guys, you should always have a little to-do list, write down all your stuff on a journal. And remember, this could get very ugly. Very ugly.
Don't look at the chart. We're focused on your health, focus on your friendships and your relationships,
And
and go
protect
out
your
and put some
families.
work in, and protect yourself and protect your family. And guess what? You'll look up in 2 years and the price will be so high you won't even need to worry
And
anymore.
we'll be doing dances that will have really crazy production value by then.
We're dancing on yachts instead of coffins.
Yeah, maybe I'll actually get to buy a car.
I got you, dude. I'm still got the Camry too, bro. You don't even have a
Camry
Camry.
got wrecked, bro.
You poor bastard.
Dude, my Camry got wrecked while I was asleep in my driveway.
I got my car broken into before, but I
Was
never
it a hit and run?
Yeah, the dude hit and ran, and I got the insurance money back, and my car cost $7,000 more than it did when I bought it.
Wow.
It was like a year ago, and I was like, there's a delta here, like I'm wrecked. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, what the hell? It took 41 days to get the check. I had to get a lawyer. It was horrible, and I'm still dealing with the freaking.
We'll handle it. We'll take care of it. We'll Hexicans will pick each other up.
Well, no, but again, guys, my life is absolutely fabulous, and I love just
take vitamins too. That helped me a lot. I was going through depression in the winter. Just take some vitamins. It totally changed my mood.
Tan and do some tanning, or like with your shirt off for a minute and just like take a walk for like 5.
Put your feet in the dirt.
Yep.
Yeah, get your
grounded.
Nice. I'm going actually real quick. I think I'm meeting RG today.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. He's awesome, by the way.
And I'm meeting
you'll like him. He's super laid back.
Stylist today in DC.
I didn't know you were over there, but that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm in the DMV, so I'm gonna get an Uber and.
Well, the three of you can go take over DC for me.
That's right. That's
get our policy through, man.
I only go down there for a couple hours at a time, and then I have to get out. It's scary down there.
Tell him hi for me. Tell him about the stream that we had today, and tell him what the work that they're doing down there means a lot to me.
I absolutely will do that, guys. It's been an absolutely
Jesse. Thank you for
Yes,
coming
sir.
on, man, dude. This
no
was
problem,
totally
man.
on a whim. You're the man. I love you, brother.
Yeah.
You look exactly like that guy who does those fitness courses in New York. You've got to have gotten that before.
No, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, but if you were all on the online fitness world, you'd know. But anyway, he's super popular. But thank you for having your streaming set up. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
No problem.
Like having that for the first time of your streaming was absolutely awesome. And I think you should continue streaming in some way, shape, or form, because I think that you do. It's easy, as you can see. It's not very difficult to have your setup. Like, it's very easy. So, and your audio is perfect. So So just
I appreciate you having me on too.
yeah,
Definitely.
good practice. And I'm here every day. So maybe next week, a couple of weeks, we'll hop back on, see what's going on. And I'm doing a 24-hour pulse launch stream, guys. 24-hour stream. We're going to blow up. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to be helping everyone through all the questions. Well, maybe not me the whole time, but we'll see. And I'll be helping everyone through all the roadblocks early on while I go through them in real time myself. So everybody have a great day. This has been an incredibly inspiring morning, and we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
See you guys.
Young folks, you dripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Hart. Richard Hart.
Bought my hex from the fucking start. .1 every day we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, he is mooning. Looking at why they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out, now get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died, collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking